Okay. All right, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Judge Lal, and we are going to commence with our expedited accusation calendar for today, February 21st, 2025. This is a first appearance calendar for individuals who were recently arrested and booked at the Fulton County Jail. Soon after being booked in, your cases have been formally accused by the Solicitor General of Fulton County. Who's hosting? Mr. Jordan, are you doing that?
It's Miss Grace.
Miss Grace, good afternoon.
Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Judge, how are you?
All right. I was going to say put Michelle in the waiting room until he gets out of bed, but that's okay. He switched off his video. As I was saying, these are cases that have been recently and formally accused by the prosecutor, who is the Solicitor General of Fulton County. So therefore, when I call your case, I will let you know what's your new case number, what are the charges brought against you, to appoint counsel for you where necessary, and to also set a bond. Please remember, these are new charges brought against you, so exercise your right to remain silent. Anything that you say in open court during this virtual proceeding, which is not only being recorded but live streamed, your statements can and will be used against you. Miss Grace, please place Pamela Mitchell in a waiting room and we'll let her in when we are ready. Thank you. Okay. As I was saying, you have a right to remain silent. Anything you say in open court, your statements can and will be used against you. You have a right to an attorney. If you cannot afford one, one will be appointed to represent you. When I address each of your cases, not only will we be giving you the information, but we'll also be setting a bond. Some of you may qualify for what we call a signature bond. And if you receive such a bond, you won't have to pay for it today, but you will have to comply with certain conditions. Failure to comply can result in your signature bond being revoked or in the future and amended to either a cash bond or a surety bond. For those of you who don't qualify for a signature bond today, you will receive what we call a surety bond or a cash bond. And for that type of bond, you would either have to pay out of your own pocket or through a bonding company. Our reset date for today's cases are going to be March 6th at 9 a.m. And that's also going to be a virtual proceeding. So for those of you who are attending, please make sure you get a Zoom link to attend the next court date. Well, I'm going to start courtroom 2. Shall I go to Alpharetta Annex or?
Yes, Your Honor, that's position number 9, Mr. Richmond.
Yes, ma'am.
This is Shelby Richmond, accused of criminal trespass under case number 25 CR 904A. Mr. Richmond has got 2 arrest cycles with an open case in Panama City for disorderly conduct. Ms. Allen, any recommendation?
Your Honor, we're asking for a $2,000 surety bond to stay away from the location, specifically the Villas del Mirasol apartment complex at 700 Old Holcomb Bridge Road and the unit 172, which was vacant that he was found in. No drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Is that in Rossville or Atlanta?
It is in Roswell. It's in Fulton County. 172 Holcomb Bridge Way is the address of the specific apartment he was in. Police responded there on the 20th at about 10:15 p.m. and met with the property manager and security, who reported that they had witnessed 2 people enter that location. Police tried to make entry. They knocked on the door. They saw someone in the bathroom turn the light off when they were standing at the door. Nobody responded. So security came and unlocked the door, and the defendant was found inside, leaving the bathroom with another individual, initials TP. The address we have for him is also a Roswell address. So I'm not sure what he was doing there, but he needs to stay away. Thank you.
Mr. Richmond, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. Shatea. Mr. Shatea, any response?
Yes, Your Honor. I'd like to ask this court to consider the possibility of a signature bond. My client is 19 years old. And though he has 2 arrest cycles, according to the PSA, he has no convictions, nor does he have any FTAs on his record. He's a lifelong resident of Georgia. He graduated from high school, and he's currently waiting for a UPS callback. He's going to start working for them full time. And no objection to the stay away because he lives at a different address than the one that's given by the state for the incident.
What's that address?
It's 1524 Wood Creek Trail in Roswell.
The unit number?
I'm not sure if, is it an apartment, Mr. Richmond?
Apartment.
Okay. And what's the unit number?
The building number is 15.
Okay.
Who lives there?
Me and my mother and my father and my sister.
What's your mother's name?
Zabalet.
Repeat?
Zabalet.
I can't make out the name. Can you make it out, Mr. Chate?
Zabalet.
Spell it?
Zabelettte.
Sabalet.
Zabalet. Z-A-B as in Bob, A-L-E-T-T.
Zabelette.
Okay, and last name?
Jean Pierre. J-E.
Jean Pierre?
Yeah, Jean Pierre. Like French.
G-E-A-N, I'm sorry, Jeanpierre?
Jean dash Pierre.
All right. So the bond is going to be set at 2,000. It's going to be a signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. Mr. Richmond, you can sign up for your bond, but you need to report to pretrial services twice a month. I
Okay.
need your mom, Zabalette Jean-Pierre or Jean-Pierre, to come down and co-sign this bond. Even though co-signer is not mandatory, I just want to make sure that your mother knows that you are not supposed to be staying at this different location and that you're supposed to be living with her. So she needs to come and co-sign this bond
Yes,
before
ma'am.
you can be released. Understood?
Yes,
You are
ma'am.
to stay 200 yards away from the entire apartment complex called the Villas del Mirasol at 700 Old Holcomb Bridge Road in either Roswell or Atlanta. I think it's in Roswell. And if you return to that location, if you're seen on the common areas, anywhere near that location, they can call and have you arrested again. And if you get arrested again, this $2,000 signature bond will be converted to either a cash bond or a surety bond.
Yes, ma'am.
So do not return to that apartment complex. Make sure you don't get arrested again. And we will send you your next court date to Wood Creek Trail, apartment 15 in Roswell, Georgia. Do you know the zip?
30076.
30076. Thank you.
Of course.
Who's this spelling?
Okay, ready?
Yes.
Zabelette.
Okay.
And then Jean, Jean hyphen Pierre, Pierre.
Got it. Thank you.
All right. Alfredo, did you have any other cases?
No, Judge, thank you.
All right, take care. Thank you.
Uh,
Courtroom 2, who do we have, please?
Position number 7, Ms. Montgomery.
Good afternoon, Your Honor.
Good afternoon, Mr. McLean. How are you, sir?
Good. You know, statistical probability is a funny thing. I have about 5 clients, and I'm going to need to go off streaming for 4 of the 5. Could not have predicted this numerical anomaly.
Well, if you've been doing this long enough, the numbers all work in your favor or against you, depends. Just like picking numbers for the lottery. Okay.
So for
and this,
HIPAA reasons, Your Honor, if I might, in Ms. Montgomery's case, I'll be talking about a stroke and memory. So
okay.
it might be
So,
good.
Mary Montgomery, your case number is 25 CR 0009038. You've been accused of simple battery from February 20th of this year. You have been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. McLean. And I understand this is going to be
6 total.
6 cycles. Last thing we have is a Cherokee County arrest from 2006. Ms. Allen, what's the recommendation?
Your Honor, we're asking for a $2,000 surety, no contact with the victim in this case, Mrs. Burtz, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, in this situation, it's not mental health. It is a medical thing that it does affect her memory. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond for several reasons. She's been in Georgia 13 years. She's about 67 years old. I Google Earth or Googled the imagery of the street on which she lives. Emily Place. That's within 3 times rock throwing distance of the jail, practically. It's just off of Hollowell Parkway, and it's a small building. She lives there. She gets a disability check. She was studying nursing in college part-time, or went through part of college, not part-time, excuse me, several years ago. And then she had a stroke. And so she goes to Grady for her medical stuff. But, Your Honor, apparently this is her place, and there would be no reason for her to stay away from it, although I'm not saying the state asked for that. We would ask the court to consider a signature bond in her situation.
So, Ms. Allen, do we have the full name of this alleged victim? It's not on the
Yes,
ticket.
her name is Alicia, Alyssia. She's a 19-year-old young woman who does not live at the location.
Okay.
It was a dual arrest, and I pulled all the reports related to that address and the defendant in front of you. She and her boyfriend, who she refers to as her man, in the police report, live at that location. He has a 23 CR case for a battery on her. There's a requirement that they have no violent contact. And there's pretty much more than a handful of cases and reports since 2022 involving her and the gentleman she lives with there, drinking, violent, knives, people showing up at the hospital injured. And so in this situation, police were called on the 20th to the same location, 760 Emily Place, because the 19-year-old called the police and said this young lady in front of you had assaulted her. When police arrived, nobody was injured, but the defendant in front of you admitted that she assaulted the young woman and said she did so because she was angry that the young woman was in her man's bedroom. So the police arrested both people, which seems strange. Not all victims cower when they're assaulted. Some people fight back.
And Mr. McLean, your office does not represent Ms. Burtz, correct?
Your Honor, in the past, as far as right now goes, I have not checked that conflict.
We dismissed that case, Your Honor.
Okay.
Okay, well, I was going to say, as far as the plethora of cases before, Lord only knows.
Bond is set at 1,500. It's a signature bond through pretrial services, level 1. No violent contact with Alicia Burtz, and to comply with the conditions of any other outstanding bond orders.
Your Honor, we'd ask for no contact. Mrs. Burtz doesn't live there. I'm not sure why she was there, but she needs to stay away. And this lady in front of you shouldn't have to worry about her. She gets to stay at her home and be taken care of there.
I know, but I have no control over Miss Burtz's movements.
Sure.
So if she happens to be strolling by the front yard, I want to make sure that Mary Montgomery does not engage with her and has no physical or verbal altercations. Otherwise, she will be back in jail.
Thank you.
A next court date will be sent to her Emily Place address. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, we go to position number 10, Ms. Seagrave.
This is Adriana Seagrave, accused of criminal trespass on February 20th, 2025. Case number 25 CR 905J. Ms. Seagrave, you've been advised to
Oh, it just went mute.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I have no sound.
Ms. Allen, can you hear me?
Now I can, yeah.
Okay,
Now I can.
all right. Don't know what happened, but I can start again. Ms. Seagrave is accused of criminal trespass. She has been advised of a right to remain silent, and her attorney is Mr. McLean.
Five total. History out of New York, Virginia, Arizona. Resident of Brooklyn, New York. 2024 assault third degree with intent to cause physical injury. That's open. Open theft out of Arizona. 2023 theft, unlawful flight from police. Resisting an officer, failure to obey officer, and a 2021 bail jumping.
All right. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. Police were called to the Greyhound station at 232 Forsyth Street Southwest at about 4:45 p.m. yesterday, the 20th. There, they met with the security who reported that an individual had been removed from a bus that was on its way to New York because she was refusing to sit anywhere near Black people. She eventually had to be removed from the bus because they were not able to accommodate her demands. And then she refused to leave the station. She was asked multiple times by security, and then she was asked by police to go ahead and leave. They reportedly tried to accommodate her and provide her with services, but because she was being provided services that involved any communication or contact with Black people, that was just impossible. In fact, she told the police officer who responded that she wasn't going to talk to him because he was Black. So when they told her she was going to have to leave or they'd arrest her, she said, "That's fine, go ahead and put me in cuffs," and she was arrested. What you just heard is that she is a multi-state offender with violent arrests in the past, so we're asking for a $2,000 surety to stay away from that Greyhound station, no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, and we'd ask for an evaluation, Your Honor.
Mr. McLean?
Your Honor, to speak about Ms. Seagrave, I really do need to go into a confidential session with Your Honor and the
Okay.
state.
Ms. Grace,
Yes, ma'am.
could you please place Mr. McLean, myself, and Miss Allen in a breakout, please?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Segrave, after conferring with your attorney who has communicated the necessary information to the court in the presence of the prosecutor, your bond is going to be set at 1,000. It is a surety bond. And you are to stay away from all Greyhound bus stations. You would need to find another mode of transportation if you plan to travel anywhere. But in the meantime, this is an open case against you in Fulton County, Georgia. So please make sure that you provide us with a current mailing address and contact information at all times so we can send you notice of when to come back to court. Your next court date at the present time is going to be March 6th at 9 a.m. Thank you.
Next, we can go to position number 11, Mr. Thompson. Thompson, come have a seat in the green chair.
This is State versus Kevin Thompson, case number 25 CR 906E. Mr. Thompson's accused of criminal trespass from February 20th of this year. Mr. Thompson, you've been advised of your rights and your attorney is going to be Mr. Chate, Mr. McLean? Okay. And Mr. Thompson has got 19 arrest cycles with an open case in Superior Court. 22 SC 182586. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
2024 trespass conviction, 2014 FTA.
All right, thank you. Ms. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. We're asking for a $2,000 surety and a stay away, no contact with the individuals at the location. That's 311 Scott Street Southwest, and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons. Police were called yesterday at about 6:15 p.m. to the Scott Street address, which is the Crafted Mastery Apartments. They met with the property manager there, Mrs. Reese. The warrants reference a previous case number. Officers had been at the location earlier the same day. The defendant was found asleep in a vacant apartment 151. He was told to leave. He was given a trespass warning, and then shortly thereafter, he was found again on the location property on a porch trying to gain entry when the same officer came and spoke to him and offered him an opportunity to go through the diversion process with Pat and get some access to resources. He said no, and he specifically asked to be taken to jail. I do see he just had an August obstruction felony and criminal trespass dismissed by the DA. He's got an open DeKalb criminal trespass probation, I believe, and an open aggravated assault at a Superior Court, 22 SC 182586, that's been in judicial hold status since 2022. Thank you.
Mr. McLean? I'm sorry, please unmute.
Thank you. There again, Your Honor, we need to go into executive session for me to mention things.
All right, can you go back into the same breakout room? We are in room 1. You just have to click on breakout and then just join breakout room.
Let's see, what I've got is participants chat. Let's see, share, record. No. If I click on that, no. No, the only thing I have about rooms is just the red button of leave, which would kick me out of Zoom entirely. But I don't see anything blue to go back in or doing
Mr.
that.
McLean,
Let's see.
if you look down on the bottom of the screen, click on breakouts and then hit join. But you have to click on the bottom of the screen where it says breakouts.
Which one do I have to click on though? Because I don't see anything to click on that's blue to get back into
Judge, I'm gonna close that one out and just put you guys in another one so Mr. McLean can come in.
I got it already.
You did it?
Yes.
Okay, so you're gonna put all, okay,
I think I put everybody in.
okay.
All right, with regards to Kevin Thompson, his bond is going to be set at $1,500. It is a surety bond. His next court date is March 6th, and he's to stay 200 yards away from the entire apartment complex at 311 Scott Street in Atlanta, Georgia. No illegal drugs, alcohol, and weapons. Thank you. Deputy, next case, if we can address Ernest York, if he's available.
Yes, Your Honor. Go ahead, Thompson. Have a seat back in the bench.
What you said, I say 2 months. She has her own apartment.
Yes, sir.
Hey.
This is State versus Ernest York. Mr. York's case is 25 CR 907G. He's accused of following too closely and hit and run, failure to return to the scene of the accident from June 23rd, 2022. Mr. York, you've been advised of your rights, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. Mr. York has 20 arrest cycles with 3 open pending cases in the state court of Fulton County, for which he.
Just went mute again.
Can you hear me, Miss Allen?
Yes, Your Honor, I can.
Okay. Can you hear me, Mr. McLean?
Yes,
Okay. As I
yes,
was saying, Mr. York has got 20 arrest cycles in which he also presently has 3 other open pending cases in the state court of Fulton County, one of which includes no bond for failure to appear. Ms. Allen, anything else to add?
Your Honor, this is an incident that occurred in 2022 when we pulled up a review of where this defendant has been living.
Let's mute again.
Based on the fact that the statute of limitations is run here.
Hang on, Miss Allen. Mr. McLean, can you hear Miss Allen?
I didn't hear before, but now it's frozen. Everything's frozen.
Try switching off your video and maybe that will help with your Wi-Fi. Okay, proceed, Miss Allen.
Records in reviewing investigative wise show that this defendant has these open cases, has addresses in Alabama. And we put some tolling language in the accusations. So this is an incident from June the 23rd of 2022. There was an accident reported on I-285. The defendant was identified with his tag information, and the victim whose vehicle he struck when he was following too closely was able to identify him based on his driver's license photograph. Police tried to make contact with him, and that was unsuccessful, so they obtained warrants. Ultimately, he was driving a maroon Nissan Altima with Georgia tags, changed lanes while he was going without having the proper space between he and the person in front of him, and struck the rear bumper of another person. He stopped briefly and then left without providing any information or exchanging information, Your Honor. So we're asking for that surety bond just based on the fact that he has left the state since this incident occurred and has those 3 cases that he failed to appear in 2018, 2021, and 2022. Thank you.
Mr. McLean, were you able to hear all that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. And other than what you discussed in a breakout with certain privileged information or confidential information, do you have anything else to add?
No, Your Honor, just that except that I just checked the participant list and looked over everything, and I don't believe this brother who I did reach is able to join us right now. But the Buffington address is there.
Is there any family member for Ernest York on Zoom at the present time? This would be the time to unmute and start your video.
Unmuted. She unmuted. I got somebody there.
All right, Miss Mitchell?
Yeah.
No.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, Miss Mitchell, are you a family member of Ernest York?
I'm his fiance.
All right. Do you have something to add?
Very good.
That he has
Raise
never
your right hand then. Raise your right hand.
I'm so sorry, ma'am.
Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. What would you like to add?
That he has not lived in Alabama and he has not left the state.
Okay.
And that he did provide his information to the young lady.
Okay. And you do realize that he has a couple of bench warrants for failure to appear in court.
I was not aware of that until just recently.
He's got 3 open cases, 17 CR 012649C, 21 CR 000102G, and 23 CR 005653E. So we're going to reset all these 3 cases along with the new one to his next court date, which is March 6, 2025 at 9 a.m. His bond at the present time is going to be $500 on each count, and that's $1,000 surety in total. And no driving unless you have a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sorry?
Miss, I always had a valid driver's license. And at the time, y'all was saying change information. Every one of them wrecks, I let the person took a picture of my tag, and I took.
Mr. York, when we have a hearing and the other party or the police officers are present, then we can have a hearing. But right now, you're just telling me your version is not helping you at all. Okay? But you still can't bond out because you got a failure to appear in your other cases. So according to the listen carefully. I just want to let you know, based on these three other open pending cases, your current bond is 9,000 for those three other cases, and then for this new one is 1,000. So your total bond in order to secure a release is $10,000. Thank you.
Yeah, I've seen it thorough. Next, we can go to position number 8, Mr. Queen.
This is Skylar Queen, accused of battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree from February 9th, 2025. Mr. Queen, you've been advised of your rights to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. McLean. This is Mr. Queen's first arrest. Ms. Allen, anything to add?
Thank you, Your Honor. This is, you're right, the first arrest. We'd asked for a $4,000 SOB through pretrial. That's $2,000 on each of the counts. In this case, it's a battery, family violence, and cruelty in the third degree. To stay away from the location, which is 206 Wade Creek. I believe that's already part of the order for protection that was issued and served. DVIP and no drugs, alcohol, or weapons, Your Honor. This is an incident from the 9th between the defendant and his former living girlfriend. They share a child with the initials MQ. The victim is Rachel Clark. She made a police report, and at the same time, the defendant made a police report. He made allegations that she was intoxicated, and basically said that he was concerned because she left the residence with their very young child. She, at the same time, simultaneously was at the police station making a report. She had gone to urgent care. She had visible bruising. She was not under the influence. She left in a rush, her child in a t-shirt and only a diaper. And she reported that the defendant became angry because she was feeding their child a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on the couch, and he didn't want them on the couch. And he pushed her aggressively and shoved her into a table, which caused this injury on her back. She then went and got a TPO. It was served, and here we are. We're not asking for anything as far as the bond that's outside of the order for protection that's already there. We did speak to Mrs. Clark. She says she's been staying at her parents' house, but she probably will return to the marital residence. She wants him to stay away from there, as well as her parents' house, and that's 5691 Long Island Drive.
That's the residence that she shares with him, or where she wants to?
That's her parents' house. She wants him
Okay.
to stay away from there, as well as the 206 Wade Creek address, Your Honor.
Long Island Drive, okay.
Thank you. You call for
Rachel
Ms.
Clark. Yep, Rachel Clark, if you on Zoom and if you want to contribute, this is the time to unmute and start your video.
Hi, yes, Judge. How are you?
All right, fine, thank you. Ms. Clark, please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear and affirm the testimony you provide will be the truth to the best of your knowledge?
I do.
Are you currently married to Mr. Queen, or are you just living with him as an intimate partner?
Yes, so that is right now being researched due to the fact that it was during the COVID times, Judge, where we were living in Washington, D.C., and it was where Skylar had notified me that it was online, that he was trying to get a marriage certificate and license. when we researched the marriage certificate, he had ordained us and the signature was not my signature. So right now, just the attorney that's representing me is actually researching that right now to see that if we are indeed married. So that is still more to come on the confirmation of that.
Who allegedly ordained the ceremony?
Skylar did.
Okay, well, that's a good gig. All right. All right. Thank you, Ms. Clark. You may mute your screen. Thank you. Mr. McLean, yes, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor. They've been in Georgia. Well, he's been in Georgia over 2 years. 37 years old. Yeah, I believe he'll be resourceful enough to have the ability to follow the court order, and of course has knowledge of how to do that. But the stay away is what it is. He is holds a bachelor's degree. He had worked towards integrative studies and studied to be a physician's assistant. He is going to be selling medical equipment and supplies, medical equipment and services, excuse me. And nothing more to add.
All right, thank you. On the battery family violence, it's going to be 5,000. On the cruelty, it's going to be 2,500. This is a 7,500 signature bond through pretrial services, level 2. Mr. Queen, you will get a signature bond, which means you can just sign up for it. But you will be required to comply with several conditions, including reporting to pretrial services twice a month. And within 30 days, you are to do 2 things. Number 1, enroll in a domestic violence intervention program. This is a series of 26 weeks of classes that you would have to enroll and complete. And you will have to update us in writing of your new mailing address, because you'll be required to stay 200 yards away from 206 Wade Creek Drive and from as well as the parents' home for Rachel Clark, which is at Long Island Drive. You are to stay 200 yards away from Miss Rachel Clark and 200 yards away from the child identified as MQ. Presently, you are also to comply with the temporary protective order that was issued under Superior Court case number 25 CV 001853. Ms. Clark, if you're still on Zoom, I highly recommend you update the Superior Court Clerk's office and get a copy of the warrant so you can show proof that the order has been served upon Mr. Queen. Mr. Queen, if you violate the Superior Court protective order in terms of not staying away from Ms. Clark, the child, and the location, you could be arrested for a felony charge of aggravated stalking, which means that you could be in jail for up to 3 months with no bond. Presently, if you violate my bond order for this case, then your signature bond of 7,500 can be revoked to either a no bond status, a cash bond, or a surety bond. Do you understand, sir?
I do, Your Honor.
All right. No illegal drugs, no alcoholic beverages, no weapons, and no firearms. And you'll be subject to random screens by pretrial services for illegal drugs and alcohol. Your next court date will be sent to your new mailing address. So make sure you update us with that within 30 days of being released from jail. Now, do you have any personal items at Wade Creek Drive that you need to retrieve?
That's Your Honor.
All right. Miss Rachel Clark,
Yes, Your Honor.
I want to make sure you're listening.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Skylar Queen is allowed a one-time visit to the 206 Wade Creek Drive, one time only, with a police escort. He must have a police officer escort him to the location where he will have 1 hour to retrieve his belongings. And then after that, he cannot return to the location or have any contact with you until further order of the court. No contact means to stay away from her physically and not communicate via mail, email, phone, any computer device, third party, or even on social media. This will also include not communicating with any of her immediate family members. Thank you.
Haven't seen her.
Next case, deputy.
Position number 3, Mr. Harvey.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, sorry.
Your Honor, you heard me. Position number 3, right?
Yeah, I did. Thank you. Did you say Harvey?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, got it. This is Cortland Harvey, accused of giving false information to an officer from January 22nd of 2024. Mr. Harvey, you've been advised of your right to remain silent. Your attorney is Mr. Chate. And he has got 12 arrest cycles along with an open felony case, 25 PI 001372. Anything else, Mr. Howard?
No.
All right. Mr. Chate, I'm sorry, Miss Allen?
Your Honor, we're asking for $1,000 surety bond here. This is an incident, as you said, from January of last year. This gentleman was the passenger in a vehicle where officers had been dispatched based on a call about suspicious people in a vehicle at the location. It's Lake Crest Drive and Lake Crest Terrace in Roswell. On scene, they made contact with the vehicle. The driver of that vehicle fled on foot after police followed the vehicle, and then they accelerated but eventually stopped. The defendant in front of you was the passenger. He said he wasn't aware of the marijuana in the vehicle, and then he provided a false name, Your Honor.
Okay. Mr. Shatai, Mr. Harvey, this is going to be $1,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 1. I think that's per judge. Mr. Harvey, I'm going to give you a signature bond. You'll be required to report to pretrial once a month. And if you get arrested again for anything else, this $1,000 signature bond will be revoked and converted to surety bond or cash. Please be sure that we have a valid address on you at all times so that we can send you notice for your next court date. No illegal drugs, no alcohol, and no weapons and firearms. Thank you.
Your Honor, can you repeat that amount? I'm sorry.
1,000.
Okay.
Signature bond, pretrial level 1.
Wait, do mine. Case for Roswell?
Mr.
This just said Roswell. Is this my case for Roswell?
I don't understand what you just asked.
Is this for Roswell?
This is giving false information from an incident.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, in Roswell.
So I don't gotta get up from Roswell no more. Cause I just got the signature bond from here.
Sir, you're not speaking clearly. Could you repeat what you just said?
I said, so I don't gotta get picked up from Roswell no more, cause I just got a signature bond from here.
You don't get kicked out? No,
I
you.
get picked up from Roswell. I don't have to wait for Roswell to pick me up because y'all
He's trying to say he has a Roswell hold.
Do you have a Roswell hold? Mr. Howard, does he have a Roswell hold?
Your Honor, I think he's asking because this charge was from Roswell, and because he got a signature bond here today, does he have to get picked up from him or?
He has a hold. I'm trying to see where it's at.
I don't see a hold.
He does have a Roswell hold.
He does?
Yes.
Okay.
He's got a Roswell warrant.
I'm giving him a signature bond, but if he has any holds when he's being processed out, then he'll have to wait for that agency to come pick him up. I'm not going to say to release to a Roswell hold because sometimes I say that and then it turns out there isn't one. So I'm just going to leave it for the jail. All right? Thank you.
You don't say what
That's pretrial level 1, correct?
Yeah.
Next, we can go to position number 1 and 2. Mr. Hargett.
Mr. Hargett has got 2 cases. The first case is 25 CR 897B. He's accused of no insurance, willful obstruction of a law enforcement officer, and knowingly driving a vehicle with a suspended, canceled, or revoked registration. Mr. Hargett also has a battery family violence matter in case 25 SC 898B from August 7th, 2024. Mr. Hargett, you've been advised of your right to remain silent, and your attorney is Mr. Chate. I understand this is his fourth arrest cycle. He's got a open case 23 SC 187588. 5 charges, including aggravated stalking. All right, Miss Allen, anything else to add?
Your Honor, the first case on the calendar from yesterday, February the 20th, no insurance, suspended registration and obstruction, involves police seeing the defendant at a gas station and recognizing him, knowing he had an active warrant. That warrant was from the August 7th, 2024 incident, which is a battery family violence. When police made contact with him at the gas station, they followed his vehicle home, they activated blue lights, and they saw the defendant get out of his vehicle and run inside the house while holding a firearm. He eventually came back outside unarmed and confirmed that he knew about the warrants. And police realized he had no insurance and suspended registration. So we're asking for a $1,000 surety bond on that one, Your Honor. No driving without the proper documents and licenses. In position number 2, the outstanding warrant that police knew about from August of 2024. This was the same incident location, actually, as where the defendant fled into with his firearm yesterday, 268 Polar Rock Road in Atlanta. Police responded to the location where they met with the victim. Her name is Michelle Smith. She was seen and described as having a tearful face, cracks in her voice. She reported being struck in the face multiple times with a fist by the defendant, and who also held her in a headlock. She had minor swelling and noticeable marks to her face as a result. We were able to talk to the victim, Mrs. Smith. She reports that they're no longer in a relationship and she's no longer at that address, so will not be needing a stay away from the 268 Polar Rock. I believe that's his family house. She did confirm what occurred, and she reports that there's prior violence. This was the worst. We're asking for no contact, Your Honor, stay away from Mrs. Michelle Smith, and a $2,500 surety bond on that case. If you'd sound for Ms. Smith.
Michelle Smith? I don't think we had. Do we have anyone in the waiting room, Miss Grace?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. Chate?
Yes, Your Honor. We just asked for the lowest reasonable bond value that would secure Mr. Hargett's return. According to his PSA, he has no violent convictions, no failures to appear. He's 27. He is a lifelong resident of the state of Georgia. He has a high school diploma, and he's worked at UPS for the past 2 months and will continue his career there. And just with those facts in mind, we just ask for the lowest reasonable surety amount.
All right. On the battery family violence, that's going to be a $2,500 surety bond. No contact with Michelle Smith. No illegal drugs, no alcohol. And he will have to enroll in a domestic violence intervention program within 30 days of being released, and make sure that he completes all 26 classes at his expense. With regards to position number 1, that's going to be $1,000 on each count, and that's a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial services level 1. So, and for both cases, he has a split bond of $5,500, and he will report to pretrial once a month. He is not to consume any illegal drugs, no alcohol, and be subject to random screens. No driving unless he has a valid driver's license, adequate insurance, and proper registration. Next court date will be March 6th unless he bonds out. Thank you. Yeah. And he's got that 23 SC case.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
March 6th. Do we have position 4?
We do, but we do, Your Honor. You want to do him with,
Oh, we can do him last. What about 6? Terrence Milton.
he will be a behavioral reset.
Okay, so Terrence Milton is reset to Saturday. That will be February 22nd at 2 p.m. This is not a Riverside issue.
And I have a question about 1 and 2. On his booking sheet, he has other charges. Are those NOD or?
I think he has a Superior Court case with 5 charges. So which specific
Okay,
charge?
maybe those are the 5 then.
So they're all on a felony case.
Okay,
They're on his felony case?
they're the 5 then.
Okay,
What level was it?
level 1. All right,
We're just waiting for the quorum to be cleared and then we can.
okay, sounds good. While we're waiting for courtroom 2 to prepare the courtroom for, and then in the meantime, Miss Grace, we can stop the live stream, please.
You want me to stop it now, Judge?
Yes, because we only got one more case left that we
Okay,
have
that's
to
fine.
do. All right,
Level-
on position 1, that's a $3,000 signature bond through pretrial level 1.